Hey friends, tonight I want you to picture this. You're standing in the desert, warm wind rushing past, the sun low on the horizon. Somewhere behind you, a pharaoh's waiting for your answer to a single request, one that could make your name last forever, or see it erased before the next sunrise. We're going to step into your sandals as the royal architect, and together we'll figure out how to build something so massive, so perfect, it still puzzles us thousands of years later. So get comfortable, maybe dim the lights, and let's wander back to a time when the stars themselves guided the work. Imagine standing in the scorching Egyptian desert. The sky is a pale blaze above you, and the sand radiates heat up through the soles of your feet. In the distance, thousands of men pause waiting for your signal. The Pharaoh has placed his trust in you, and with it comes a weight of expectation. This is more than building stone on stone. It is about leadership, the everyday life of a worker's village, and solving an engineering challenge that will test every skill you have. And this journey begins where all great pressures do, with a summons to the palace. The sun hangs heavy above the palace, its light bouncing off walls of polished limestone. You stand among stone columns carved with the pharaoh's name, symbols of his authority that stretch as far as your gaze dares wander. A figure approaches, tall, commanding, and framed by shadows that seem to shrink everyone else around him. This is no ordinary audience. You've been summoned by the ruler of all you know, the living conduit between earth and the gods. His voice cuts through the reverent silence like the crack of thunder. "Build me a staircase to eternity." The words settle in the air like an unmovable weight. The pharaoh doesn't just want a tomb. He wants a monument that will defy the ages, speak to divine power, and align the very ground you stand on with the heavens above. The stars, he insists, will bear witness to its perfect lines and eternal precision. But here's the twist. He wants it completed in a time frame so ambitious that whispers of doubt might have you executed for treason. Because to deny his vision would be to deny the will of the gods. The stakes aren't high, they're absolute. You glance down at your hands, the calluses already evidence of years spent working on lesser projects, temples and shrines that now feel small in comparison. But those were warm-ups. This pyramid, this would be something entirely different. The design is staggering, millions of limestone and granite blocks stacked so precisely that not even the blade of a knife could fit between some of them. Each block weighs several tons, and you're tasked with not just designing this monumental feat, but seeing it through to completion. Perfection isn't optional, it's sacred. And then there's the unspoken addendum to the pharaoh's demand. Failure is not merely incompetence, it's betrayal. Think disgrace, think punishments whispered about in taverns but never fully described. Or worse, consider the fate of your family if you don't deliver. You see, in this world, the pharaoh's demands don't stop at you. They ripple far beyond your title and into every corner of your life. That pressure could crush you before a single block is even cut. But it's not only the crushing fear that fills your chest as you step back from the throne, it's awe. Because here's the thing, for as brutal as this task might be, it's also the closest any mortal will ever come to touching something divine. This pyramid isn't just a project, it's the bridge between two realms. Every angle, every slope, and every gleaming surface is designed to harness sacred geometry. The gods demand symmetry, harmony, perfection. And when that day comes, when the last stone is fitted in place, this monument will align with the North Star, guiding not just the pharaoh's soul, but ensuring Egypt's dominance is written into the cosmos itself. Among the workers, this vision already spreads like fire in dry brush. They don't hear deadlines spoken in moons or years, and they certainly don't calculate payroll the way you do. No. What they hear is the calling of eternity. They believe that each stone lifted, each day spent soaked in sweat under the punishing sun, is an act of devotion. In their minds, they're building more than just a pyramid. They're creating a legacy, a literal stairway that connects Earth to the stars. And while fear might drive some to their workstations, something brighter runs parallel. Loyalty. Not just to the Pharaoh, but to the idea of leaving their mark in history. But loyalty has its limits. As you run your eyes across the vast horizon, it hits you. A project of this scale could collapse under its own ambition. The sheer enormity of what's ahead pushes your breath out in a single exhale. Failure isn't limited to death by disgrace. Miscalculate the ramps? Disaster. Overwork the crews? Unrest. Allow delays? That might as well write your own execution warrant. You're not leading an effort, you're balancing on the edge of catastrophe. And Egypt's finest builders need more than fear to follow your command. Still, there's no time to dwell on what could go wrong. The task now is clear. You must find the hands that will carve history into stone. From the quarrymen hacking blocks free from the cliffs, to the haulers pulling sleds across sand slicked with water, every role must be filled by someone willing to bleed for this sacred vision. It comes down to you to figure out how to make them work, not just for the Pharaoh, but for something bigger than themselves. The audience with the Pharaoh ends abruptly. You look up, realizing the sun has shifted, and the palace walls that once gleamed white now blush crimson in the late afternoon's light. It's a small reminder that time is a relentless force, ticking away as surely as the heart of the man who just entrusted you with the divine challenge of carving his name and yours into eternity. Before the first stone is moved, you'll need to face the people who will shoulder this project. You'll need more than stones and stars to see this through. You'll need a workforce driven not just by orders, but by purpose. Because even the most skilled architect can't raise a pyramid alone. Beyond the palace walls, the heat eases as you step into a settlement built with purpose. Here is the heart of the permanent workforce, around 5,000 people, living in tightly packed rows of mud brick houses. This isn't a ragged camp of the unwilling, but a planned community where families share meals, raise children, and prepare for another day serving the Pharaoh's vision. A short walk from these homes lies the cemetery where some of these workers and their loved ones rest, a quiet reminder that life and death unfolded in the same shadow as the pyramid. From the workyards, you hear the measured ring of chisels against stone. In open workshops, artisans work with steady hands, shaping limestone blocks to exact specifications. Out by the quarry, the shouts of overseers mix with the low scrape of sleds, dragging over dampened sand. Every sound carries the weight of a schedule that must be met and a structure that must be perfect. Walk farther, and the human rhythm of the village comes into focus. Women stack pottery jars filled with grain and beer, provisions that will fuel the laborers through the long shifts. Children weave in and out of narrow lanes, dodging the occasional argument over tools or duties. It's chaotic in moments, but threaded with a sense of purpose, each person knowing their role, whether hauling, shaping, cooking, or recording supplies. This cohesion isn't an accident. The workers are organized into groups, crews, gangs, and files, with hierarchies that keep thousands moving in sync, each assigned to different phases of the project. For some, the work offers stability that's rare, regular rations, a secure place to live, and a defined role in something grand. For others, it's a matter of pride. Camaraderie thrives here, visible not just in how they work together, but in how they leave their mark. On partially finished stones, graffiti stands as a glimpse into their community. Gang names like Friends of Menkaure or Drunkards of Menkaure, personal claims on a project that will outlast them. That pride is more than symbolic. It's what keeps progress steady in the unrelenting heat. When crews gather to eat, swapping jokes and trading small boasts about their output, you can see morale holding. But tensions are always near the surface. One bitter dispute or an unfair workload can ripple outward, slowing everything. You have to balance authority with understanding. Push too hard and risk losing their trust. Too little and deadlines slip. There's more to monitor than tempers. Supplies have to reach each team in time. Tools must stay sharp, water must be ready to wet the sand before sleds move. Injuries, sickness, even small shortages can tie up work. And there's the matter of how each skill fits into the whole, the unglamorous hauling standing beside the artistry of carving. Both essential, neither more important than the other. It's easy to be drawn to the image of the pyramid's shining sides, or its alignment with the stars. But what's unfolding here is as vital. A living network of people whose shared effort is the real foundation. The pyramid will stand in history, not because of a single vision from above, but because these households, these workers, their families, their daily lives, are committed to seeing it rise. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows over the village. Dinner fires are lit, and the sound of work fades for the day. Behind the quiet, the challenge waiting at first light is already clear. The stones themselves are another problem entirely. Vast, heavy, and demanding to be moved higher and higher without the aid of modern tools. Moving such massive blocks into place calls for a blend of patience, planning, and clever problem solving. Before the first stone rises into position, the challenge begins with extracting it from the earth. Most of the blocks come from quarries some distance away. Workers there chip away at the rock face with copper chisels that dull quickly, forcing them to stop repeatedly to resharpen their tools. The quarry floor is busy with the ring of metal on stone, the scrape of rubble being cleared, and crews preparing sleds for the long journey ahead. Starts with a simple but effective design, a sturdy wooden sled resting on the sand. Without an added trick, progress would be painfully slow. The solution is to pour water ahead of the sled, dampening the sand just enough to reduce friction. The wet surface lets the heavy load glide more easily over the ground, though the effect doesn't last. Someone must always be ready with more water before the sand dries, keeping the movement steady. The work is slow, but the rhythm of pulling, watering, and dragging allows the blocks to inch toward the site. On arrival, the real puzzle is how to lift each block higher as the structure grows taller. The answer lies in ramps. Steep ramps shorten the distance but demand far more strength. Shallow ramps make the pulling easier but require enormous amounts of space and building material. Either way, ramps themselves are significant constructions, rising and extending alongside the pyramid in constant adaptation to the height needed. Everything depends on accuracy. Each stone has a precise place, guided by measurements tied to both symmetry and the principles of sacred geometry. The sides must align with the cardinal directions, and some believe with key stars, ensuring the monument fulfills both practical and spiritual purposes. Crews work in carefully timed groups, ropes pulled in unison, stones eased into position against their neighbors. It is not simply about stacking. Gaps must be avoided and surfaces kept true to angle. Simple machines, wooden levers, rollers, and carefully positioned rope teams add to the delicate control needed for final placement. These make it easier to shift the balance of a block or slide it the last few inches without damaging the structure. Such tools, combined with the coordination of many hands, turn brute force into measured action. The work carries its risks, though these are approached with caution rather than spectacle. Ropes are checked and rechecked, wooden sleds inspected, ramps maintained. A mistake could slow progress or undo days of effort, so tasks are repeated with care until both builder and overseer are satisfied. Teams learn to read each other's movements, anticipating the next pull or lift, creating an unspoken rhythm that keeps the site in motion. Pride plays a quiet role here too. Workers know which crew placed which stones, and the marks left behind, graffiti with team names or simple symbols, show that these were more than anonymous hands. Friendly rivalry pushes the pace, as no team wants to fall behind or appear careless under the eyes of supervisors. Piece by piece, the pyramid takes shape. From the base, you can see the orderly rows of stone steadily climbing, each new layer requiring longer hauls and greater care. From above, the lines remain true, the angles sharp, every step lending the structure both strength and beauty. As the days pass in this measured routine, the site hums with the expected sounds of building. Yet in a place where so many people and beliefs come together, work does not always follow the neat lines of a plan. There are forces beyond stone and rope that can test the resolve of a crew, and sometimes the interruption comes from the ground beneath their feet. Imagine this. Work is going smoothly when the rhythm of pulling ropes and sliding blocks breaks. In the dust beyond the growing walls, a digging crew strikes something unexpected. The noise draws a small crowd, faces wary, voices low. In the sand lies an object, half exposed, its surface carved with strange markings. It could be a box, a pot, or part of something larger. But the whispers agree on one thing. The symbols warn of divine punishment for anyone who disturbs it. It's the sort of moment that, in this world, could shift the mood of an entire workforce. Other fragments turn up nearby, each deliberately buried, each carrying the air of something meant to be left alone. Soon stories spread. Someone swears that cracks in a finished wall appeared only after the find. Another claims to have seen an omen in the sky, a bird's pass, a shadow that lingered too long. Small incidents become proof to the tired and overworked that the ground itself holds grudges. In Egypt, belief is not a distant ritual. The gods are part of the landscape. If the workers think sacred balance has been disturbed, fear spreads quickly. You can see morale dipping, conversations turning sharp, work slowing. Word carries down to the village where exhaustion makes imaginations sharper and worries harder to ignore. For many here, a curse is not a story told to scare children. It's a danger as real as injury or hunger, rooted in traditions passed from one generation to the next. Keeping the project on track now means working within that belief system rather than against it. As architect, your task is to steady the crew. History shows that in moments like these, leaders called on both practical and spiritual authority. You send for priests from a nearby temple. They arrive quietly, their presence alone lending weight to what happens next. They perform the proper ceremonies to calm fears, their practiced motions and chants reassuring the watching crowd. Over time, such ritual responses could restore the rhythm of work, not by proving anything broken had been fixed, but by reaffirming that the gods had been shown the respect they deserve. But ritual is only half the solution. You meet with the gang leaders, trusted men who, within their crews, hold more sway than you ever could alone. You remind them what's at stake, not just the Pharaoh's monument, but the memory of those who raise it. In this culture, legacy matters, and the thought of descendants speaking their names alongside the pyramid's story can reignite determination. You also lean on more tangible methods, ones grounded in the economy of the site. Bread and beer are the daily rations here, staples as vital as the tools in their hands. A promise of extra provisions, opportunities to rest, or open acknowledgement of efforts can change the tone of a tense camp. Practical incentives work alongside reassurance, showing in a concrete way that their value is recognized. The next days are careful, deliberate. Work resumes in steps. the shift from rumor back to routine almost imperceptible. By the week's end, the find is covered again, left in peace, and talk of omens grows quieter beneath the sounds of chisels and sleds. No one says the fear is gone entirely, but it no longer decides the pace of the build. It's another reminder of the balance required here. Stone and rope on one side, belief and morale on the other. Holding both steady is as much a part of the job as laying the foundation. With the site calm again, attention turns back to the demanding schedule. The pyramid's form rises higher each day, and the pharaoh's expectations have not shifted. Soon, the real pressure will come from something less mysterious than curses, and far harder to negotiate. The pyramid now dominates the horizon, its stepped sides climbing almost to their final height. Only a few more courses of stone remain, but each one demands as much care as the first. The announcement comes quietly, yet it carries through every part of the site. It must be finished before the next solstice. No time to expand the schedule, no space for delays. Every decision from this moment on has to serve one purpose, bringing the work to a flawless conclusion. In these last days, the pace quickens, but precision cannot falter. The smallest error in alignment could undo years of discipline and effort. Foremost in everyone's mind is the capstone, the pyramidion, which will crown the structure. More than a final stone, it's the point that completes the geometry and the symbolism, linking the monument to the heavens. Some pyramidions may have been finely finished or even gilded. What waits here is a polished stone, prepared to catch the light. However it appears, for the workers it is the visible proof that their years of labor will endure. Fatigue hangs over the workforce, many of whom have been here since the earliest foundation trenches were dug. Hands are roughened from endless hauling, shoulders bowed from years of lifting and chiseling. The usual noise of the site, shouts between ramps, laughter in the yards, has grown quieter, replaced by measured commands and the steady rhythm of work. Supplies require careful management. Copper for tools is stretched thin, ropes are patched to keep them strong enough for the heaviest lifts, and workloads must be balanced to keep the focus where it's most needed. Rivalries between gangs, once a source of energy, now need active guidance to prevent them from wearing down morale. You rely on supervisors not only to direct tasks, but to hold their crews together. The marks they've left, gang names scratched onto stone, the kind of graffiti archaeologists now use to understand their world, are a reminder that pride in the work runs deep. That pride, more than orders from above, is what keeps teams moving toward the peak. The day the capstone is raised begins without ceremony. Crews assemble in position, each with a clear role. The stone rests on a sled, ropes wound and checked again. The ramps are narrow here, their incline gentle enough to allow progress, but steep enough that every pull requires focus. Movements are calm, methodical, hauling a few steps, stopping to adjust, stabilizing the precious load before starting again. The shouts that come are deliberate signals, not cries of strain. Hours pass this way, the slow ascent unfolding in careful stages until the sled reaches the uppermost level. The placement is delicate work. The stone is guided toward its seat at the very apex, its position measured and adjusted until the geometry is exact. When the foreman signals that it rests true, sound seems to drop away. For a moment, the only thing anyone hears is the wind over the stone. Then the gathered crews exhale as one. Smiles spread, voices rise, and the quiet is replaced by shared relief. Workers clasp shoulders, exchange a few words, or simply stand looking upward. Some collect around the ramps, pointing toward the new summit as if to confirm that it is really there. This is the proof of their skill and endurance, the part of the pyramid that will outlast all of them. Later, word spreads that the pharaoh has come to see the finished work. His entourage pauses at the base and he takes in the whole structure from below. Whatever thoughts he keeps to himself, his approval is clear from the measured words he offers. It is enough to know the monument meets his vision. For you and the workers beside you, that quiet acknowledgement marks the end just as surely as the capstone itself. As shadows lengthen across the sand, the sight grows calm. The pyramid no longer belongs to its builders. It belongs to the ages. What remains is the quiet knowledge shared by all who labored here, that their names, their group marks, and their work are set into its very stones. And that sense of human effort, layered into every block, will remain for as long as the pyramid stands. When you picture a pyramid now, set aside the glossy postcards. Think instead of the builders in their purpose-built village. Families living in rows of mud brick houses, sharing bread and beer rations, working in tight-knit crews with names they carved into stone. These were organized communities, around 5,000 strong, each person playing their part. These monuments aren't just tombs for kings, they're proof of what vision, skill, and collaboration can create. If this quiet look into history felt restful, consider subscribing for more stories like this. And as you drift tonight, ask yourself, what would it take for you to build something that lasts?